Hey everybody, this is PJ Riley from Lancaster Archery out here on a chilly November day. We wanted to introduce you to the 2022 series of hunting bows from Hoyt. As typical, we have an aluminum offering and a carbon offering. There's 4 bows total in this series, but great new hunting bows from Hoyt this year. Before we jump into anything, I gotta mention that I gotta give them props for really doing a lot this year. They're minor adjustments from last year's bows, but I think they make huge gains in the shooter experience that you're gonna notice with these awesome bows. We'll tell you all about that here in a second, but first, let's take a look at the specs for the 2022 Hoyt hunting bows. The Hoyt Ventum Pro 30 measures 30 inches axle to axle. It's got a brace height of 6 inches, IBO speed rating of 342 feet per second. It's got a mass weight of 4.45 pounds. The let-off is going to be adjustable between 80 and 85%. For draw length, you're going to have a total range of 25 to 30 inches, and the draw weight range is going to run from 40 to 80 pounds. The Hoyt Ventum Pro 33 measures 33 inches axle to axle. It's got a brace height of 6 3/8 inches, IBO speed rating of 334 feet per second. It's got a mass weight of 4.67 pounds. The let-off is going to be adjustable between 80 and 85%. The draw length range total for this bow is going to go from 26 to 31 inches, and the draw weight range is going to be from 40 to 80 pounds. The Hoyt Carbon Rx7 measures 30 inches axle to axle. It's got a 6 1/4 inch brace height, IBO speed rating of 342 feet per second. It's got a mass weight of 3.9 pounds. The let-off is going to be adjustable between 80 and 85%. You're going to have a total draw length range of 25 to 30 inches, and you're going to have a total draw weight range from 40 to 80 pounds. The Hoyt Carbon Rx7 Ultra measures 34 inches axle to axle. It's got a 7-inch brace height, IBO speed rating of 334 feet per second. It's got a mass weight of 4.3 pounds. The let-off is adjustable between 80 and 85%. There's a total draw length range from 27 to 32 inches, and you're going to have a total draw weight range from 40 to 80 pounds. All right, so as we just heard, we have the Ventum Pro series, are the aluminum offerings from Hoyt this year. I have here the Ventum Pro 33, great shooting bow. And now we can see here we've got this big, beautiful riser that Hoyt has for the Ventum series. It is very similar to last year's bows, but they did some things, as I mentioned, to tweak these bows to really improve that shooter experience. We'll start here with the cam. Last year's bows had the HBX cam. This year we have the HBX Pro cam. And so a couple things that the engineers said that they did was they lightened them up, took a little bit of weight out. You're going to hear me mention all through, Hoyt took a little bit of weight out of several different features to try and get the weight down on these bows. And one of the places that they did that was in the cam. So this is the HBX Pro cam. It looks very similar to the HBX, but it is a little bit different. All right, so if you look at the HBX Pro cam, you are going to see this little extra wing here. This was something that Hoyt introduced last year. For me personally, when I looked at it, I first thought that was to help keep the string in the track there, but that has nothing to do with it. What it is this little extra wing sticking out there, that gave them some added weight in this cam to help bring it around faster. So they maintain that here, and that's the purpose that it serves. And then also, what they did was they shifted these cams over just slightly to give you a better sight picture through the sight window when you're aiming with these bows. They found last year there were some sights that they just had some left-right clearance issues. So for right-handed bows, they moved the cam a little bit to the left. For left-handed bows, they moved it a little bit to the right, just to give you a better sight picture there. And once again, also with the HBX cam, of course, last year was the first year that Hoyt went away from the cam and a half system. Now we are once again looking at a binary cam system powering this bow. You got the same thing with that HBX Pro, just a more stable system there. It helps them with speed, helps them with vibration. Great performing cam in the HBX Pro. Now, coming down the riser. Okay, you're gonna see this sight here that I have mounted. And this is a Picatinny mount sight by Excel that I have on here. So last year, Hoyt came out for the first time with their Picatinny rail system. And it was an additional piece that you bolted onto the front of the riser. Well, Hoyt thought it looked cleaner, and I agree, to just machine that right into the riser. So now the pick mount is going to be machined into the riser. You'll see it here on the front. It's not an add-on part, it is part of the bow. And then something you're going to see a bunch of holes drilled through the riser on the side of the pick mount. That was something that caught my eye right away, so of course I asked, hey, what's the purpose of those holes? Well, it serves two purposes, neither of which I thought of, but one is that by drilling those holes, that allowed them to take some weight out. It's not much, but it's something. And when you take a little bit from several places, the weight starts to add up. So those drilled holes take some weight out of the riser. And then also what it does is with the finish process, if that were a flat surface in there, some of the finish could get amassed in there. In other words, it would bulk up and be thick. By drilling the holes, it allows the finish to go right through. You know, they dip these bows for the finish. Now it can pass through there. You're not going to have it pooling in one place in a recess like that. So that's the purpose for the holes in the side. But that pick mount system, I mean, that is awesome. It helps reduce that profile. Of course, you can see now with that sight, the way it's mounted on there. I don't have an arm on the back to mount this sight. However, if you don't want to have a Picatinny rail mounted sight, you still have your standard sight mounts here. So I could, remove this sight and put your traditional sight on the side there with your two screw holes right there. All right, moving down the bow, once again, we also have the integrated dovetail for your rest mount, which I have on here. I have the QAD Ultra Rest Integrate. Again, taking away stuff from the side of the bow. It's a super secure connection, I have found. These things really hold on tight. But again, we're doing more things to slim this bow down, which incidentally, Hoyt thought of that. Now, what's the third piece that you have on the side of your bow is your quiver. So for your quiver mount, you're gonna see it up at the top here, and Hoyt has a special mounting bracket for it in there that is optimized to really make that quiver slender. And now what the engineer said is it is in such a position, so with this new quiver mount, what the engineers were telling me is that with the quivers that attach to this, there is the ability to slide it in and out. So let's say you're shooting a standard sight like a spot hog, one of those sights that has a real big sight knob on it. With this quiver mount, you will be able to adjust your quiver to account for those large sight knobs. If you don't have that big sight knob, you can slide it in to make everything compact. So Hoyt thought of that with their quiver mount, which is excellent. All right, so continuing to move down the bow, we come to this grip, which in my opinion, this was my favorite feature of this new bow. Hoyt came out with their new Vital Point grip. So it's a little bit more slender from Hoyt grips that we've seen in the past. It's got this great rubber texture. I mean, today is a cold day, and this grip, I put my hand on it just to keep it warm, but it is warm, nice flat spot on the side there. And then what you're gonna notice is they change the angle. Hoyt grips tended to, they required a lot of heel pressure in the past. Well, they straightened that grip a little bit at request from a lot of their pro shooters, bow hunters out there. They asked them to straighten that grip angle, which they did. They reduced it by 4 degrees. So now we have this new position grip along with this rubber grip that's on it, the Vital Point grip. And it is super comfortable, I found, to shoot. It's comfortable feeling in your hand. It just is a more natural feeling grip from my perspective. So that was a great new, something small, but yet the grip is arguably the most important part of the bow. And I think they really hit a home run with that this year. All right, coming down the bottom here, we have our short stop stabilizer that your bow is going to come with. This is something that Hoyt started last year. And what I have found that it does is it almost eliminates for me the need to have a standard stabilizer. Because this sticks out so far, you can see if I mounted a traditional stabilizer, I mean, that's about, I don't know, 8 inches or so that I would need just to get to this spot. And with this one sticking out in the front, it really balances the bow. With the 33, what I found with the short stop stabilizer on there, I didn't feel like I needed another stabilizer. Personal preference on the 30-inch bow, and of course that's carbon, so it's lighter as well. I may add some weight, that would probably take care of the problem, or have a more traditional stabilizer. I'd have to play with that, but I can tell you for the 33, I didn't feel like I needed a stabilizer. This was enough. So that was something they started last year. And then as part of their overall vibration dampening, you're gonna have limb shocks up top there. Down here, you're gonna have this vibration dampener, and it is mounted right to the rod that basically holds the limb pocket in place. So you can imagine there's vibration coming off the limbs. As it comes in and enters the bow, right at the point that it's connected to the riser, you've got these dampeners right here, so that's going to kill a ton of vibration. And that goes to some of that shooter experience that I was talking about. This Ventum Pro 33, this thing is quiet, super quiet. Oh man, dude, there is no vibration in that thing. It barely makes any noise and zero hand shock. I felt Hoyt made some huge leaps last year with the Ventum series. That was the least vibration that I've felt in a Hoyt in years. They did quiet it down even more this year with the Ventum Pro. So that's the Ventum Pro. Let's talk about the Carbon RX7. Okay, so we have the Carbon RX7 and I have the 30-inch model here. So this is not the Ultra. The Ultra is another version of this bow. And right away, Hoyt Carbon bow fans, the first thing you're going to notice about this is what? Hoyt Carbon bows in the past have always had a series of 3 carbon tubes. And you can see here there aren't 3. There's 2 of them. 2 carbon tubes. The engineers said that did several things, one of which is, again, lightening the bow. We talked about removing weight. Hoyt made lots of advancements there. So they lightened the bow by having only 2 tubes. This is also the first Hoyt carbon bow that is 100% carbon in the riser. Hoyt carbon bows from the past were carbon up to about here, and then you had an aluminum head, top and bottom. And that's where they made their connections to the limb pocket and to the limbs. Well, this is all carbon all the way through. So they did away with that aluminum head. Obviously, again, that helped with the weight. And Hoyt said that this is their stiffest carbon riser that they have ever offered. With the design of it, with going away from the 3 tubes to 2, they were able to make this the stiffest riser they've ever had. And it is super stiff, I can tell you. You don't feel any vibration. They also did a lot of things to improve this carbon riser as well. You're going to look here in this sight window. So in the past, they had kind of sharper angles where this riser came down and cut into the sight window. There was more of a shelf here. The Hoyt engineers said they found that carbon functions better. You get more efficiency out of it when things are more tapered instead of having hard angles on it. So you're going to notice that here, that this is nice tapered into the sight window. It gives you a bigger sight window. There's more vertical space here in that sight window. So for the cam, it is the same HBX Pro cam that we talked about on the Ventum Pro. So it's going to have all the same properties. Everything built that we talked about with the Ventum Pro is the same for the Carbon RX7 as far as the cam goes. All right, coming down now to the Picatinny mount. So on last year's bows, you kind of had to choose whether you wanted to have a standard sight mount, which I have on here. This is standard, you know, you got your 2 screws into the riser there. You had one attachment for that. If you wanted the Picatinny mount, you had a different attachment for that. So Hoyt this year built them into one piece. So now you can see I have a standard sight mount, but the pick mount is still on there as well. And they don't interfere with each other, so I could swap this out for that Picatinny sight if I wanted to, but I wanted to show the 2 different sights on these bows. And this one here, I have a standard sight mount with the Picatinny rail in the front there. Also something I thought that was aesthetically nice for Hoyt is you can see the riser actually kind of engulfs this Picatinny mount. They got parts of the riser that come out to the edge here, so it doesn't look like so much like it's an add-on. It looks more like it's part of the bow. So just aesthetically, that's nicer there. Coming down once again, you still have your short stop stabilizer. I should say, if you want to mount a side rod on either bow, the RX7 or the Ventum Pro, you have 2 options for that. You can, of course, mount a side rod bracket on the front here and run your stabilizer off there. Or if you want to get that side rod down low on both the bows, you're going to have, this is going to be your connection point. It's going to be on the side of the riser here rather than on the back. On both bows, same thing. You're going to have, that's going to be where you could put your side rod if you want to, or you can have it up high here. Here at your rest mount, of course, you do have the option for the integrate rest mount, which I have on here. It is a metal bracket that wraps around. So there is an integrate dovetail in there that this rest is mounted to. And again, same with the Ventum Pro or this bow, you do still have that center burger hole if you want to mount a standard rest on there. If that's the rest that you have, you still can mount it the same way you always have. And just like on the Ventum Pro bows, we do have for the RX7 and the RX7 Ultra this great new grip Hoyt came out with. Again, it's got that improved geometry, it's got that nice rubber feel. And with the carbon, I mean, carbon bows are great for cold days anyway. With the carbon and the rubber on there, this grip kind of feels like a heating pad today. So you do get that great new grip with the carbon bows. Another cool feature that Hoyt came out with is they came out with this set of sticks that mount to the shortstop. They have a special mount that goes into the shortstop bushing there, and then these sticks attached to it, basically so that you have a sort of built-in bow pod. You can shoot with it on and just setting your bow down, you know, like you're going up into the tree stand. How many of us take our bow as we're climbing up and just lay the bow in the dirt and the mud? Now with these sticks, you can have your bow, rest it sitting upright just like we see it here, and then haul it up into your tree stand. Just a nice new accessory that Hoyt came out with to really help those bow hunters. All right, so for the shooting experience, I was talking about how Hoyt did a lot of things to improve the shooter experience, and I feel like last year I said the last year's series of bows were the best shooting Hoyts that I've ever shot. The RX-5 has the least amount of vibration that I've felt in a carbon bow ever. Well, these just beat it. The aluminum series, I mean, just no hand shock. The draw cycle is nice. It's fast. You can tell this bow shoots fast, but great shooting, quiet. The carbon bow, one of the issues that I kind of have always had with carbon bows is the hand shock. They really want to jump out of your hand. This one does not. Last year's bows didn't as well, but this one, they took that vibration and quieted down even more. you can tell the effects of that stiffer riser in shooting it. They hold great, they balance great, just great super shooting bows. The tweaks that Hoyt made this year to both of these bows, of course they were more pronounced on the carbon bows, but the changes that they made really helped up this shooter experience. I think people are really going to be impressed when they get these bows and get to shoot them on the range. That's when you're going to notice how well these bows perform. Several years ago, when Hoyt had the Carbon Spider, I hunted a full season with that bow. I got to shoot an antelope out west with it, and then I took it to the Arctic to hunt muskox, so I had it in -40 degrees. So I had extensive experience with one of those carbon bows, and to compare this one to that Carbon Spider, that's like 6 years ago or so in there for the Carbon Spider. To compare this bow to it, it's like night and day. The advancements that they have made in their carbon lineup really have gone the extra mile, and I've just been super impressed with the carbon from Hoyt. All right, so that is the new flagship hunting lineup for 2022 from Hoyt. 4 bows in all. You get to pick which one works best for you. Great shooting bows, aluminum, carbon, just awesome bows Hoyt has for 2022. We're gonna see lots of these bows out there. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like it, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click that bell to get notifications whenever we put out new videos. And as always, if you have any questions, you can visit us at LancasterArchery.com.